Welcome back to Grow with Alan, episode 9. It's May, it's warm, it's lovely, it's perfect time to get growing. I'm in the greenhouse, which has frankly turned into a bit of a jungle of broad beans. They're fantastic. Look at these. In fact, let me get you on to show you how well they're doing. Let's see. I think they're just about ready to go. There we are. What do you reckon? First beans. Bit small, but very sweet. Good thing about growing your own beans is you get to pick broad beans, excuse me, whilst they're nice and fresh like this. When people are selling commercially, they grow them for weights and to get the maximum value. Of course, you can pick them small when you grow them yourself, so you get the better flavour, which is what I'm doing. Now, these beans need stopping off. Mostly because I just want them to fill out the pods that they've got at the moment, because the tomatoes need to get in here. So once they get to about actually these are quite big, but certainly once they get much above your waist, it's worth stopping off broad beans, because literally just pulling the tops off like this, because it discourages black fly and it just helps them put their energy into the beans which they have formed, rather than just continuing to sort of grow leaves, if that makes sense. So yeah, just literally just pull off the tops like that, put those in the compost bin, and these are going to be great eating just a couple of weeks' time. There's a lot been going on in the garden since we were last here, and yeah, I'll show you where we are. So do you remember last time I was planting up sweet corn? There we are, just those little blades of grass just coming through. They'll be ready to go out soon, probably a couple more weeks' time in the garden. And I've had a little present from Thompson & Morgan, thank you very much. This is a Gigatomato, which is reputed to be the world's biggest tomato plant. Well, when I say biggest, I mean biggest tomatoes. Apparently you can feed a family on one tomato. Now, I'm going to try and prove if that's true, and it should be pretty easy, to be honest, because there's only my wife, my son and I who actually like them. My daughter hates tomatoes, so we'll see. So they sent me 2 of these, thank you very much, very kind. And I've given one to my next door neighbour, who's a bit of a tomato king, frankly. And well, he'll put me on my mettle. I think if you look online though for Gigatomato and Thompson & Morgan, I believe there's a prize nationally, and it's about £5,000 for the heaviest tomato that's presented at one of the autumn shows from one of these plants. That's got to be worth a go, hasn't it? £5,000 for a tomato. That's got to be more than gold, isn't it? I don't know. So anyway, look, at the moment they don't look any different. So these are the yellow pear ones, which I've grown from seed myself. You can see that, you know, there's nothing to tell you that these are the elephant of tomatoes, but the elephant in the greenhouse, I don't know. So that's what I'm going to be adding to the mix. I'm looking forward to that. What else is going on? The French beans, here we are. These are the French bean Ferrari. They're ready to go out. I put the Algarve out last week, and I'll show you in a moment, but these can go outside now. They will need, I'll plant them out in a minute actually, they'll need a bit of protection from slugs, because the slugs absolutely love them, but it's getting warm enough, it should be alright, unless you're in the far north, where you might want to keep them a little bit longer, just in case the frost arrives. To do those, and a couple of other things that are going to be going on today. Got a bit of rocket, going to be put something of that out, and some radish. Quick growing crops, easy to grow, get them outside, let them enjoy the warmth that's arrived. What else is going on? I'm not going to show you me doing this because it would just be too long, but these are the sweet peppers and these are the chilies. They'll need potting up now into individual pots. Initially, I'll just put them into pots about this size and grow them on the greenhouse before they go into their final pots. So, you know, just worth doing that. That's purple sprouting broccoli, courtesy of my neighbour for next year. Doing well, isn't it? Flowers, annual flowers, they're almost at the point that they can go out as well. These are the Rudbeckia. Frosts are getting past again. Almost time for those to go outside. I don't know whether you're entirely organic, it's up to you, but you know, quite a few of these plants will be susceptible to slugs. So things like cosmos, your sunflowers, courgettes. So it's up to you really whether you want to just go for the full organic. I mean, I used beer traps last year at Maple Durham and it seemed to work okay. Bit of a waste of beer, but it worked. But I'm afraid in my home garden I do use slug pellets. It's the only thing I use that isn't organic. but you know, I think it's a kind of a payoff really. It's a lot of effort to get to this stage and then lose the lot. And the other thing that's going to be happening today is, ta-da, the cauliflowers and the kale. They need to get outside. Here we are. So these are the cauliflowers and there's the kale. They can get outside now. They're storming along actually. Need to make sure they have a little bit of protection from pigeons. There's always something, isn't there? Somebody else thinking like, well, thank you very much. That's my lunch. I'll have that. Or I'm going to steal your lunch. So we'll get those outside in a moment. But yeah, let me take you on a little tour of what's going on outside, because things have really grown on since we were last talking. As you can see, I've been putting up a lot of sticks since last time. So these are the second lot of sugar snap peas, which have come through quite nicely, sown direct. So I've just put some sticks around those, let them climb up. Over here, we have parsley, which is just coming through. You can see that's just growing quite nicely there. Also sown direct, there is some leaf beet, which is just coming through the soil there. This is the, I think it's the second lot of broad beans here. So these are the first ones I put outside, which are doing quite well. Again, sown direct, so do that. That first lot of sugar snap peas bombing along there. The third lot of broad beans just coming along here. Next to them, the lettuces are getting going, and these are the alderman peas, the Victorian variety, the very tall variety. I put some sticks up around them. I've got to be honest, germination hasn't been brilliant with these, and so I have put a few more in. I don't know whether that's because the peas and the seeds, they sat in the greenhouse at Maple Durham in the scorching heat for much of the summer last year. Might have dried them out a bit. And finally, over here are the French bean algarve, which I've put in next to their sticks. They'll climb quite quickly here, and I did put a few slug pellets down just to protect them, and yeah, I expect those to go rocketing up. At the back there you can see those French bean Ferrari. I'm just going to spread those out round about. There's no need to have a particular row. They're nice little bushy plants. You just pop them in somewhere and let them go. And just growing in the space here is a bit of coriander. All going rather well really. You can see my daughter has just planted up some of the cosmos just over here. We'll pop that outside as well. She's quite keen on her flowers. Okay, a little bit weedy, I know, my fault. You can just see the first of the carrots are just popping through there quite nicely. And just beyond them are the red ace beetroot. So the soil's definitely warm enough if you want to start getting stuff straight into the soil rather than doing stuff in the greenhouse. You can certainly see there's a bit of a forest going on with shallots and things over here as well. There we are. Okay, right, let's crack on with those planting up those brassicas. So these are the cauliflower all year round, which I've been growing on the greenhouse, and it's time to get them outside. Cauliflower grow to maturity quite quickly, so I can afford to put a few more in for seed now whilst these grow on if I want some more, but I don't know whether I will actually. I've probably got enough of these. This is well manured soil here, so it's nice and clear of weeds. They're quite hungry plants, so give them the opportunity and simply just pop them out the pot. Get a nice hole, just drop them in, and I'll give these a good soaking of water once they're in. So I've got a few of these to go in. I'm going to make sure that there's enough space between them to hoe the soil. The plants are going to grow probably about that high, so it doesn't need to be and about probably this sort of wide, so you don't need to give them too much space. I can probably get 1, 2, 3 across here, so I've put another one in here. And it's important that this is soil which didn't have brassicas growing in last year or the year before. So this is soil which last time brassicas were in here was probably I'm trying to think now, quite a few years ago now. Probably 4 years actually for this one, so that's fine. I'm going to muddle these up a bit as well with some kale. This is the Kale reflex. It grows a little bit taller, probably about that tall, so that can go in with this. And I've planted some more kale for later in the year, some red ball kale, which is a lovely red colour. You can probably see it's the stuff actually that I stuck in the candelabra flower challenge, which Jonathan loved so much because he said it stank. But well, it looked okay on TV. It's just, well, it wasn't smell-o-vision really, wasn't it? So the kale goes in exactly the same way, about the same sort of distance between the plants. So you can see there's probably, 30 centimetres between there. Could do a little bit more, but it won't do them any harm. And I'm just going to put the rest of these in here and that'll be that. Now, I've got some netting, and I've got some canes here with little stoppers on the top for the netting to rest over, and I'm just going to drape that over to make sure that things can't get to these, because you know, it's not just the pigeons, it's the cabbage whites, the butterflies who will lay their eggs on here, the caterpillars will absolutely have them, and it's also whitefly. Now, a lot of people prefer to use horticultural fleece, which is a sort of very thin white material which lets the light through but won't let those bugs through. Do you know what? I'm a bit too tight with my money to start buying that as well. So I just use this and keep an eye on the leaves once a week. Just come and have a look around, go like, you know, are there any eggs on there? If there are, give them a squash. Yeah, it just works just as well. I mean, I know Rob, who was on the challenge last year, he preferred to use the fleece, but you know, it works just as well. Okay, so I'll carry on with those, and that'll be then. These French bean Ferrari plants, they really are absolute crackers. If you haven't got some, you really should. They just produce so much from such tiny little things. So I've only planted 6 at the moment. I'll probably put some more. I will put more of these in because they grow so well. So just literally take them out of the pot, and you can, because they're only little bushes, you can just pop them in spaces. So what have we got here? We've got a bit of coriander growing here. These are the French bean algarve, which will grow up there nicely. So I'm just going to pop these in like that. So literally just take them out, drop them into the soil, give them a good water. Do put something down for the slugs. And these, you're going to be chuffed to bits with these if you've grown them. I'm just trying to think who I got the seeds from. I think it might have been Dobies or in Paynton. But again, put them about 30 centimetres apart, just gives room to hoe between them. Pop them in, put a few slug pellets round. They don't mind the soil being a little bit dry, so they're fairly resilient plants. They're quite attractive looking plants. They're easy to maintain. I can't think of anything bad about this variety of French bean. If you haven't grown it, do. I know we're in May now, but there's still a good month of time for planting beans, at least a month of time. They're, you know, I suppose one of the things I learnt last year was that everything catches up brilliantly well. So you read the label, it says, oh, you need to put it in by this time. It's just not true. Most of the growing actually happens after June 21st, I've noticed, with plants. So you get them in and then they sort of shoot up during July and August. So there's plenty of time. Get cracking now and you could still have some fantastic crops. Right, the last thing I said I was going to be doing this week was getting some radish and some rocket growing. These are very easy to grow. You can sow them direct, so just choose. They grow quite quickly as well, so you can just choose a spot that's going to have something else in a bit later and just pop them in. So let me think. Let's pop these next to the strawberries here. Let's have a look. See if you can see that. Okay, let's have a look. Da 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 da. Yeah, let's pop them there. You can see that, can't you? All right, happy, good. Yeah. In terms of sowing them, you just need to put a shallow drill in, and this is that handy little seed drill I picked up for a grand sum of £3.50 from the second-hand tool man. Use a stick, to be honest. It's just quite nice to have the right tools, isn't it, once in a while? Yeah, these are, so let's get these radish out. Quite nice little round seeds here, if you see those, quite small, and literally just going to sprinkle some along a row here. In fact, because they grow so quickly, I'm only going to grow half a row, so I'm going to put that stick in there at that, because there's just no point in growing too many at once, because it's better to put some in next weekend and the weekend after and just keep a steady supply of those. Just dust them over like that, very easy. And the rocket. Again, I'm going to grow a little half row like that and just keep a fresh supply. Rocket has got a tendency to go to seed when it gets a bit dry. What I mean by that is it'll just suddenly grow very tall and flower, and it just doesn't taste the same. It tastes a bit bitter. So it's easy again just to keep putting in a little bit at a time. This is seed again I've got left over from last year, so hopefully it'll be okay. But it was scorching hot in that greenhouse, so a level of apprehension that these seeds won't be okay, that will you know, whether they're going to work or not. The seeds for rocket are absolutely minuscule. They look like little tiny mustard seeds. So again, I'm just going to sprinkle a few along the row, and just that will do, you know. Put a bit more. You can always thin these things out, so you know, be generous with the seeds, because it's easier to see. It's easier to be able to see what's a weed and what isn't in that way. I know with sort of some of the F1 seeds, they're F1 hybrid seeds, they're quite expensive, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. But with these cheaper seeds, put in a few extra, treat yourself. Well look, that's about it for this week. Everything's going beautifully. Do start putting in a few things direct like that in the soil that you might think, oh, it's getting a bit, you know, it's the soil's lovely and warm. Other things to be doing this week, think about getting your runner beans. I'm growing Scarlet Emperor this year, which is a fantastic old-fashioned variety, which heavy croppers. Think about planting those. Again, I'd kick them off in a tray like I've done with the French beans. Kick them off in a tray, get them going, and then you can make sure you've got 2 plants per bean cane that you're going to put up and let grow. And hopefully once those are, well, if you get them started in here, that will mean you'll get a good crop over the summer. As ever, thanks ever so much for watching. Questions, always welcome. I'm glad so many of you are enjoying these little videos. Thank you.